Hey guys, how's it going? Hope you're doing well. My name is Crown, and today I'm going to read you some very interesting stories that I hope that you're gonna love. And now, without further ado, let's go! I, female 26, was invited to my sister's 18th birthday party a few days ago at a restaurant. My husband didn't come because he said he had a dinner meeting with some clients. This made my family feel let down, especially my sister who wanted him there, and also her 18th birthday was a big deal to her, obviously. To my surprise, when I arrived, I noticed that my husband was having his meeting at the same place. His table was right in the corner, and he had about 4 men sitting with him. My parents and the guests saw him as well. I waved for him and he saw me but ignored me. He obviously was as much as surprised as I was. My parents asked why he didn't even come to the table to acknowledge them after the cake arrived. I got up and walked up to his table. I stood there and said, "Excuse me." My husband was silent when I asked after I introduced myself to the clients if he'd take few minutes to join me and the family in candle blowing and say happy birthday, but he barely let out a phrase and said, "I don't think so. I'm busy right now." I insisted, saying it would just take a couple of minutes and that it would mean so much to my sister. He stared at me, then stares awkwardly back at his clients. They said nothing and he got up after my parents were motioning for me to hurry up. He sat with us while my sister blew the candles and cut the cake. My parents insisted he take a piece and join us in a selfie, but he got up and walked back to his table, looking pissed. We haven't talked till we met later at home. He was upset, started scolding me in front of my parents, saying that I embarrassed him and made him look unprofessional and ruined his business meeting. I told him he overreacted since it only took a few minutes and it was my sister's birthday and my family wanted him to join since he was literally in the same restaurant. He called me ignorant and accused me of tampering with his work, but I responded that ignoring mine and my family's presence was unacceptable. We argued, then he started stonewalling me and refusing to talk to me at all. For your information, I didn't have an issue with him missing the event. But after seeing that he was already there, then it became a different story. Also, it literally took like 5 to 7 minutes. He didn't even eat nor drink, just sat down and watched. And now for some comments. You and your family deliberately sabotaged his career. I'm a big birthday person, and I'm disgusted by your ignorance and selfishness. Do you have any idea how professional business works? What you did was disrespectful to your husband and his clients, and may have caused him to lose his job, especially if those clients are major ones. How will you behave when your husband interrupts you during your business meeting that you already informed him of and drags you to another table to watch his brother blow the candles and have a piece of cake? Do you even work at all if you're this clueless? And you are in the wrong. You're in the wrong. You have never had a professional job, have you? It was so important for him to be there. Why didn't you guys move the dinner celebration to another date? Upon seeing him at the same restaurant, you should have acted like you didn't even know him, since this was a business meeting with clients. You're in the wrong. He was working. You knew from the start he was working. You could have told your parents and guests he was working. Instead, you went over and interrupted an important dinner. It's fine to make your sister's birthday about her, but it's not okay to make your husband's meeting about her. I have 2 daughters who have different dads, Mia, 14, and Ava, 16. Ava's birthday was 2 months ago and she asked her dad to buy her a new phone and a backpack. She chose what model and color phone she wanted and found a backpack that she loved. I was so excited to get them. Unfortunately, her dad got sick and lost all his savings to pay for medication and can't afford to buy them anymore. And I can't afford them either. We explained to her and she understood. I bought her a cheaper backpack from both me and her dad. Mia's birthday was a week ago. When she opened her dad's gifts, I was shocked. It was the exact phone and backpack that Ava wanted. Ava went to her room and didn't come out the rest of the night. I waited after the party was over, then told her what she did was cruel and immature. I took most of the gifts away and grounded her. Her dad has been blowing up my phone demanding I give her gifts back. He called me a jerk and said that I have no right to take them away. I told him he should have stopped her from doing so and acted like a real parent. And now for some comments. Everybody sucks. Of course, your daughter didn't just coincidentally ask for the exact same phone and backpack. It's deliberate and horribly mean. However, I don't think you can just take her gifts away. I think you need to sit down with her and get to the bottom of this. You can do some awful things to your siblings as part of growing up, but there is a cruelty in this that you need to address. Her gifts have to be returned. I understand the impulse, but that isn't a solution, and jumping straight to that makes resolving this more difficult. Just talk. Everybody sucks, except for Ava. Mia sucks for taking advantage of her father's wealth to make her sister upset. Her father sucks for not parenting his daughter better than that and not caring about why even after knowing. And you suck the most for not properly parenting both of your children, allowing money to drive a wedge between them, and having a bad co-parenting relationship with Mia's father. Sounds like you have a better relationship with Ava's father than Mia's, and are letting it influence your attitude with your children, who are noticing, by the way. You're not in the wrong. That was deliberate. I think a lot of the other replies are missing this point. If you can edit your post to include this, it will be most helpful in giving accurate judgment. The "you're in the wrong" replies are caught up in the money aspect, but this is really the dynamics between the two girls, with one deliberately being vindictive with her choices. You're trying your best to nip resentments in the bud, because one is trying to lord her gifts over the other one, which is total mean girl energy. A conversation needs to be had about the shady one's behavior, and there needs to be consequences, because if she carries this forward in life, she will be an unpleasant person. Mother-in-law is currently visiting from the Philippines, which is about a 15-hour flight. She has only come once for our wedding, so we haven't seen her in years and wanted her to meet her grandkids, 5 and 2. I really don't know her at all. My only interaction with her has been the wedding. She wanted to wear something cultural, but I asked her not to wear white, traditional mother of the groom color in the Philippines, and she told people behind my back that I'm a racist witch and ugly. When confronted, she just cried and said she was blowing off steam and accused me of racism. I've hardly spoken to her in my life, so that was my one impression of her. I know she was super anxious about coming alone, so I tried to be as welcoming as possible. Mother-in-law came and I thought things were okay, but then she began receiving all these deliveries of food and a family member drove an hour to bring her a casserole. I was confused. But when I talked to the family member, she said that mother-in-law's husband had contacted her and claimed she was starving, and he was ordering what groceries he could, but any food they could bring her would help. I was even more confused. We have food in the house and I cook every night. I talked to my mother-in-law and she admitted she had been calling her husband crying because she was hungry. She said that I didn't make her breakfast. Didn't know I had to. I ate something quick before work and didn't tell her she could eat our food or use our kitchen. Again, didn't know I had to. So she just hadn't been eating. I could feel my blood boiling and yelled, "Why wouldn't you just ask?" I said she humiliated me and should have come to me instead of running to her husband like a crybaby. And she began sobbing. My husband came in and begged me. The mother-in-law kept screaming for us to get out. I did, but muttered it was our room. All of her stuff is gone now. She must have lived through a back door. She ignored our calls, so I sent a text. But now the family from America and from back in the Philippines are calling us disrespectful jerks. My husband said he will back me, though he wishes I used a better tone. And now for some comments. My family of origin is Filipino. Before I married my husband, who is as wasp can be, he asked me so many questions about my family that Our engagement became an opportunity for me to learn more about my parents' culture and upbringing. Don't get me wrong, your mother-in-law sounds like a drama queen, but the white dress wedding incident, I understand where she's coming from. She wanted to wear the Filipiniana terno dress. The dress with the high-puffed sleeves made out of pineapple fiber. My own mother wore that white dress during our wedding, and believe me, no one pulled out the smelling salts and exclaimed, "I can't believe she wore white." Everybody knew that we were celebrating the merging of two families in our two cultures. It seems to me that you just completely shut that down. So here is my judgment. Your husband should have taken care to prep you and her before the visit, so you could come out in the best light. You should have shown at least an iota of curiosity about the family you were marrying into. You and your husband should have made it quite clear to your mother-in-law that she could raid the fridge. And hey, after a 15-hour flight, my jet-lagged self would have appreciated some prepared breakfast because jet lag is no fun. And your mother-in-law could have used her words and asked you for some food before claiming that you were starving her to death. Everybody sucks. You, husband and mother-in-law. But I think your husband is the one who will be in the best position to help you and his mom navigate the cultural differences. If I have a guest, I ask them about breakfast and tell them to help themselves to anything. But your husband could have just as easily done that. It is not more your fault because you're female. You are in the wrong. What a horrible way to welcome your mother-in-law. You should have worked with your husband to learn basic ways to make her feel welcome. Instead, you screamed at her, assumed she'd know how to find a way around her life and American culture, and made her feel so bad and sad and hungry. What an awful ignorant host. I don't exclude your husband here. You both suck. And for anyone saying she should learn how to behave in America or she should go home, that's how the racism and xenophobia we're experiencing started. I'm 30-year-old female. My sister, female 39, has cancer. She's a single mom of her 16-year-old son. We were asked to take him in while she gets treated so we could help him focus on studying and provide a normal routine for him. My husband has asthma. He needs his inhaler throughout the day. Thing is, my nephew is a prankster. He'd hide the inhaler as a prank, then give it back as soon as there is panic in the house. So far, he's done it 2 times and thought it was just him messing around. The other day, my husband called me while I was at work, panicking, saying his inhaler was lost. I asked if my nephew had taken it as a prank, but he doubted it since my nephew would give it back instantly after we panicked. I got home and we looked for it for hours, and eventually had to go to the hospital. When we got back, we found it sitting at the coffee table. My husband and I looked at each other, and next thing we knew, my nephew was giggling upstairs. At that moment, I just lost it. I yelled at him, then told him he was no longer welcome in my home. He started panicking and my parents called me to get to the bottom of what happened, but still defended him, saying it was just a prank. And then I took things too far by kicking him out while his mom was struggling. They insisted I take him back, but I refused. Now they are giving me hell about being unsupportive and making things more difficult for my struggling sister. They even blamed my husband for not keeping his things locked away. Am I in the wrong here? Did I make a hasty decision? And now for some comments. You're not in the wrong. Ha ha ha. Criminally negligent manslaughter is a funny prank, guys. Let me just make one thing clear, OP. There is no situation, argument, or other circumstances where a damn 16-year-old is not a massive jerk for doing this. He's old enough to understand that your husband would die without this inhaler. You're well within your right to set that boundary. This was no longer a prank. Watching your husband struggle and panic to the point where he went to the hospital, that's too far. Way too far. It is no longer a fun prank anymore. It's evil, cruel, and malicious, and dangerous. What if your husband didn't make it to the hospital on time and choked in the car? It's an abuse of the generosity of you folks who are graciously hosting him. Kick him out. He is too old and should know better. This is not a small child, but but a 16-year-old on the verge of adulthood. He is going to learn the hard way. To those complaining perhaps he needs to go live with those protesting the loudest, you're not in the wrong. You sent your husband to the damn hospital. That's not a prank. Your family who believes you are so unsupportive need to step up and take in this kid themselves if they want to help. You're not in the wrong. Nephew messed around and found out. My wife doesn't like my mother. Some of it is valid. Some of it I honestly feel is looking for reasons to be mad at her. However, she's currently pretty hurt as my mom doesn't show much interest in our son. My wife grew up in a very close, loving family, and this bothers her. Our son recently had his first birthday and my mom came with her 15-year-old stepdaughter Rose. Rose is a pretty big brat. She demanded jewelry when my mom got her engagement ring and said her dad should have given her an elaborate gift to equal the cost of the wedding. This isn't even a kid acting out because her dad is remarried. She wanted him to marry my mom. This is just how she acts. My mom's husband is lazy. I know he loves her, but he's too lazy to parent and is one of those every other weekend Disney dads. Though he recently got primary custody, but only because she's older. My mom showed up to the party and my wife was immediately on edge. My mom gave a kind of bad gift. I know it isn't about gifts, but still. And a couple of minutes later, Rose asked my mom if they could go to Michael's when they left and get some more supplies for her hobby. My mom said yes, and Rose said okay, and you better spend more on me than you did on that baby. My wife and I both looked at my mom, but she didn't correct Rose. My mom wasn't eating much because she had some sensitivity to the main menu item, not allergies, things sensory stuff that is hard to predict. And Rose announced that she was telling her dad. My mom was like, telling him what? And Rose said she was telling him that we didn't have food for my mom. The final straw was when out of nowhere, Rose looked at my mom and said, "Do you like me more than that baby?" And my mom just started laughing and my wife mouthed, "Get her out of here." So I told my mom they had to go as Rose was being rude and my mom had a bad attitude. My mom acted confused and said they didn't do anything. I said they were upsetting my wife and the mother of my child, and her happiness on that day was my priority. My mom called me freaking ridiculous and Rose was like, "Yay, we can go to Michael's now." But then repeated that she was telling her dad. They left, and my in-laws pretty much cheered, but my side was pissed. My grandparents think I was way too hard, and they are ashamed I treated my mom like that. They said I was cuddling my wife, as Rose is just a bratty teen. And now for some comments. You're not in the wrong, and Rose wouldn't be welcome in my home if she behaved and spoke like that. You're not in the wrong. I wouldn't want that nightmare of a child in my house either. And if it takes kicking your mom out to get rid of her, well, you're not in the wrong. If your mom can get that girl to behave properly on visit, she should have left her at home. Thank you for watching and see you next time.